Hello there everyone, it is TIJ and welcome to Football Manager 2019 Team Guide. Today's Team Guide is going to be with Liverpool and we're going to be talking through Liverpool squads, the transfers they've made, their dynamics, their training, tactics and also the transfers that I think could bolster Liverpool's squad. So let's get straight into it, shall we? Now Liverpool are very much a team on the rise in the last few years. After the sacked Brendan Rodgers, I had to think who it was then, they have had two consecutive fourth place finishes in the Premier League, famously getting to the Champions League final last year. And Liverpool have brought in a few players this season. They've brought in the likes of Alisson Becker, Fabinho, Naby Keita and Shaqiri to bolster some of the brilliant signings that Jurgen Klopp has made to really make the Liverpool team a title challenger for the first time in quite a while. And as you can see, Liverpool's squad is very, very good. They've bolstered the defence with the signing of Virgil van Dijk. They've bolstered the midfield. They've got Naby Keita into the club, who's only joined this season, and Fabinho as well. But of course, the Liverpool front three is one that is absolutely fantastic. Firmino, Mane and Salah. And I'm also quite intrigued by Xherdan Shaqiri, who's joined the club, because I think if given the chance in Football Manager, could do something really good. But that might mean that you might have to take out Salah, Mane or even Firmino, but we'll look at that in the future. So we've talked through the transfers that they've made. Now Alisson Becker is going to be a very interesting one because, well, he's replaced Loris Karius and Mignolet in effect. Mignolet is going to be very much a bench-warming goalkeeper now. He's not going to be playing too much, so possibly you might think that you could get rid of Mignolet as well as Karius and bring in a younger goalkeeper, because it makes a little bit of sense. Alisson Becker's 25, so he's going to be playing for many years, so perhaps a younger goalkeeper could be good. If we look in the under-23s, is there anybody that's coming through that you think, ooh, yeah, they could really be somebody who potentially comes through to be a good goalkeeper? Let's have a look. If we look at potential, we've got Kelleher, who's got a 3-star current ability. We've also got, who's that? Shamal George, who's got a 3-star ability, but no one who's got a fantastic ability. I mean, Becker is already 4 stars, so you're going to have to recruit externally, I'd say, for a new goalkeeper. But we've got a lot of youth at the club that's exciting. We've got Alexander-Arnold. We've got Harry Wilson, who you will all know, I'm sure, by now, for scoring a few fantastic free kicks. Harry Wilson is already a 2.5-star player and has got the potential to be a 4-star player. There's also very other exciting youth. As you can see, Ben Woodburn's one been mentioned over the years, Glenn McCauley, Shea Ojo and Marco Grujic. So it's interesting to see how you guys might interpret those players and see how you might embed them into the squad over the years. But if we look in dynamics then, it'd be interesting to see who is the top of the dynamics tree. They are Henderson, Milner and Mo Salah, surprisingly. I'm quite surprised that Salah is one of the team leaders. I'd expect it to be Henderson and Milner, but not particularly Salah. That's a very interesting one. But of course, Milner is very much reaching the twilight of his career. So if he retires soon, I reckon we'll be able to cope. Well, it says that. That's not me making a judgment. But I think you will be able to cope if Milner does retire. But Milner, I would have to say, is one of your best tools at the club. He can play anywhere. He could play up front if you asked him to, but actually he probably wouldn't be able to. But his work rate is second to none at 18, so I think he's definitely got to be in the squad. Henderson, again, is one that divides opinion amongst Liverpool fans, but he's a long-standing squad member. He joined from Sunderland in 2011. But he's got a very high ability, strong leadership skills, and that kind of makes sense to keep Henderson in the squad. But it does ask questions, and it does ponder questions in terms of, well, if you've got Henderson and Milner in the squad, how on earth are you going to fit Keita, Fabinho, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Wijnaldum and Lallana in? Because all 7 of them are very good players. Surprisingly, Milner apparently is the best player, whether that's alphabetical or what, but apparently Milner is the best centre midfielder at the club. That's very, very interesting. A leading player for most Premier League sides. If we look at highly influential players, you've got Lallana, Firmino, Lovren, Mignolet, Wijnaldum and Klein. Now, bear in mind that Alisson is only influential, and I pretty much guess that Mignolet and Becker will swap positions pretty quickly in that squad. But if we look in terms of tactics, there's only one tactic that can be played for Liverpool. The tactic that Jurgen Klopp was born to play, the gegenpress tactic. We've got the front three. We've got Mane, Salah and Firmino. I've basically gone with the preset gegenpress tactic with a few changes. Now, I've just played my first match on the Conquering the Euro series, which I'm starting with Liverpool. So I've got a little bit of knowledge about the Liverpool squad, A, from being a Liverpool supporter, and B, from using this tactic in Conquering the Euro. It's doing quite well, actually, and it seems that Firmino, as the advanced forward, is working really well. In the midfield at the moment, we've got Keita, Henderson and Milner. It's going to be interesting to see how the other players get into the squad with Fabinho. Where is he now? Shaqiri, there we go. Fabinho, Shaqiri, Keita, Alisson, and who's the other new signing? I've completely forgot. Who is it? 4 new signings. Becker, Oh, I'll have to look at this. No, it is Keita. I didn't think Keita would count. But Keita's just come into the club. So Keita is picked from the start, which kind of makes sense because that's what he's been done in real life. But it seems that Fabinho may take a little bit longer to get used to the club. And he might be able to get into there. But it is a very tricky question to ask me. How on earth you're going to rotate all these players? Those problems are made slightly easier by the fact that Oxlade-Chamberlain is out for the next 8 or 9 months. So that's one less player to get into your rotational system. But still, you've still got 6 midfielders to get into that system. You've got Milner, you've got Henderson, you've got Keita, you have Wijnaldum, Fabinho, and you also have Adam Lallana. And one thing you could do to try and fix that is to maybe move one of these into the attacking midfield, put Lallana there, and if you get... Oh, well, it isn't Lallana going in. Put Lallana there, and then you have more... You've got, well, there's one less player in the midfield, but then there's one less player to get into the squad. So you've only got to choose then between Keita, Milner, Henderson, Wijnaldum, and Oxlade-Chamberlain. But obviously Oxlade-Chamberlain's not in the squad. But it's going to be quite a tricky one for you guys to try and manage all of these players, because they're all fairly young. They all want first-team football, so you're going to have to manage that one quite well. But Liverpool have got a hectic schedule with the Champions League, FA Cup and League Cup. So there's no problem with rotation in the squad, I can't imagine. Alisson will be your goalkeeper. I don't really think that'll change, because I very much doubt you'll be playing Mignolet if you look at real life. Klein, Gomez, Van Dijk and Robertson at the back. That pretty much looks like the standard back four. You might want to be a little bit more realistic and put Alexander-Arnold in there, because that's who he's been playing in real life. But Klein is probably the better player for now. Perhaps you might want to move Klein on. I don't quite know. Or even maybe send Alexander-Arnold out on loan. Maybe you don't think that Alexander-Arnold is quite good enough yet. But I'd put the trust in like Alexander-Arnold to start at right back. In the midfield, we've got Keita and Milner, but that really can be changed. We can have Wijnaldum and Fabinho in there. We can have Henderson in there, but probably as the captain, it'd be best to have Henderson in there as much as possible. Milner is also a very important part of the squad, and again, it's very tricky to juggle those central midfielders. If we look at training, I don't particularly look at training because I haven't got a clue about training, but there we go. Milner has got the best rating in training, and again, he's responded very well to the sessions being made. But what I'm looking at the moment, before we look at training, is the mental capabilities of players. As you can see, this is a squad with very good work rate. We've got a few players, the likes of Shaqiri and Sturridge, that have got low work rates. They might be able to be prioritised in training and regularly analysed to see if they're actually pulling their weight in training, whether they're actually doing good enough, because these players could easily get out of the squad. There might be good players like Shaqiri, not so much Sturridge, but looking to be fair, he's scored some fantastic goals this season so far. But if those players aren't playing very well, you could drop them. And there's no reason why not. If they're not playing very well in training, you can, well, not playing very well in training, but not training very well, easy. Criticise their conducts and, you know, saying that their training performance is putting their squad membership in danger. But in terms of some of the best players at the team, that you like to see, Keitas, Henderson, no surprise that Henderson and Milner are up there in the best of the work rate in training. But also we have got, which I haven't quite looked at yet, the mentoring scheme, which would be quite interesting. Let's have a look at this mentoring scheme before we continue. So if we have a group, we can add a player. So if we add the likes of Henderson as the captain, that would make sense. So let's see who would work with Henderson. Now Henderson would perhaps work with Keita, Solanke and Origi. So they're all younger players. I don't really know why he's working with those three. But it's interesting to see. Okay, that's interesting. So if we had another group, let's call that one B. And okay, that's fine. The assistant's only going to assign that group. But it looks like the older players can work with some of the younger players. Perhaps you could have the likes of Henderson working with some of the lower... Not lower ability players, but some of the younger players who basically can't be bothered. The likes of Shaqiri, Solanke potentially, but even though he's got a good work rate, but it's just interesting to see if you could work that mentoring scheme with some of the younger players as well in the under-23s. Bear in mind, a lot of them are out on loan. Finally, though, let's have a look at the scouting at Liverpool and who we might recommend for us to bring in. If we look at the shortlist, I've identified 4 players that you might want to bring into the squad. Now, you might notice that all these players are young. There's a reason for that. But first, we're going to go for the goalkeeper. Now, I did say that you won't really be playing Mignolet, so you want a bench warmer for a while. So why not pick Gianluigi Donnarumma, the best goalkeeper in Europe, I'd say, at the moment, in terms of a young goalkeeper. He's got bags of potential really to improve, and he is only valued at 18.5 million. Even if you double that, 35 million. Let's make an offer, actually. Let's see how much they want. Let's put 30 million in. Okay, maybe not at the moment, but if we just keep experimenting, it's not going to quite work, but Yeah, it's gone up, but I'd say maybe by January, in the end of the day, Milan are only in the Europa League, so if we start to do well with Liverpool, if you start to do well, then you can very much tempt these players from these clubs. And again, it's not what's the word? It's not the quickest of transactions that you need to make, because at the end of the day, Donnarumma's got time on his side. There's always Mignolet on the bench, but as a replacement to Mignolet, it makes complete sense to bring the Italian in. Ryan Sessegnon is a left-back who could come into the club. It's interesting to see if Sessegnon could come in. He can play at left-back, but also as left wing. So if you need a replacement perhaps for, say, Shaqiri or Salah or Mane, there's not really much replacement. There's not much depth in the squad. So Sessegnon would be interesting to replace at left-back. Now, we have got James Milner who can place Robertson at left-back, but Moreno is very much out of sorts at Liverpool. You might want to try moving on. So, Sessegnon's a player with bags of time on his side, and he's got bags of potential. He's proven it in the Championship. Maybe you might want to see if gives him a season in the Premier League to see how he can get on. But he's definitely one that you could take a punt on. And he won't be worth that much, I can fairly say. Perhaps 20-25 million, but it's well worth it for the 15 years you'll get out of him. Another player you could bring in is Breel Donald Embolo as another striking option. As you can see, he's very versatile across the attacking midfield. He's not worth much. He's not got a high value. He moved to Schalke for 20.5 million a few years ago from Basel. He hasn't performed too well, to be quite honest. And interestingly, played a few games for the second Schalke team last year. And maybe he could be given a second lease of life in the Premier League. He won't be worth too much. And if he's only making substitute appearances, he's got light time to improve. And under your coaching, perhaps he might become a very good player. And on the cheap as well. And the final player is Matthias de Ligt, a player who is very much looked at for Ajax. He's wanted already by Arsenal, Bayern Munich, Inter Milan and Tottenham. As you can see, he's a very sought-after player with a value of only 7.25 million. If we make an offer for him, I reckon we can get him for 20 million. Can we? 33, maybe negotiate bang down to 25. Okay, but you get the point. It's going to be about 26 million for de Ligt, and to be fair, you're going to be getting de Ligt for at least 15 years. So it's well worth it, to be honest, because if you look at the team report, there's not really much depth at centre-back in terms of youngsters, because we've got Van Dijk, Lovren and Gomez, but Matip's, well, I didn't realise Matip was only 28, but 26, but in fact, Lovren is 29, Van Dijk's 27, so Matthias de Ligt at 18 could be very good as a rotational option to go above Joel Matip, and that then means you've got Gomez, Van Dijk and de Ligt, which is a very strong trio of centre-backs for the club. And really, any of those signings won't set you back massively. The transfer budget is 40 million, and if you get rid of a few players, which can possibly be done, there's a bit of deadwood, I'd say, at Liverpool. The likes of Moreno, the likes of Origi, possibly Solanke, possibly, and Mignolet, you could possibly get, I don't know, 50, 60 million for collectively if you were lucky. But if you don't like Henderson, you could get rid of Henderson, and maybe Nathaniel Klein could go. So there's lots of things that you guys could do Liverpool. Let me know what you think of what I've said down in the comments. I've made a few suggestions. Of course, they are not gospel, but they are suggestions to perhaps help you guys out. But thank you very much for watching, folks. I have been TIJ. Make sure to go over to the channel, subscribe to the channel. There'll be plenty of team guides out on the channel in the next few weeks. There'll be one for all 20 Premier League clubs. This should be the second one that's out after Manchester City. So if you go on the channel within the next few days, there'll be a lot more team guides to try and help you guys out with the squads, transfers, dynamics, training, tactics and future transfers of all the clubs in the Premier League, regardless of who you are starting with on Football Manager 2019. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this team guide. I have been TIJ, and I'll see you guys in the next one or the next video of mine you watch. Thanks for tuning in, folks, and I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.